Tonight on To The Point.
Hundreds of people gathered outside the offices of California Congress members protesting possible Medicaid cuts.
Why it's part of a larger movement across California. Plus, Trump tariff talks. What the president is saying tonight about negotiating with China. Preparing for a final farewell. The security operations underway as hundreds of thousands are expected for Pope Francis's funeral. And later, California's HighSpeed Rail project.
The structures are being built, construction is ongoing, and impacts are being made.
With the funding threatened,
California's federal transportation dollars should go where it's really needed.
What does progress look like?
Good evening. As always, thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. Hundreds of demonstrators are gathering outside of California Republican congressional offices this week to protest efforts to cut Medicaid. This was the scene outside of Representative Young Kim's office in Anaheim Hills today. KBC reports about 1,000 people attended the rally. Demonstrators are calling for Kim and other Republican Congress members to reverse course on a vote that they say would cut billions of dollars from Medicaid. Scenes like this are also playing out at congressional offices right here in our area. ABC10's Becca Habegger spent the day in Modesto as protesters are calling for changes in Washington.
Here outside Republican Congressman Tom McClintock's Modesto office, hundreds of people gathered Wednesday afternoon to share personal stories about how possible cuts to Medicaid could affect them.
What do we have to do?
Fight!
When are we going to do it?
Now!
Cuts to federal Medicaid funding, which in California is administered through the Medi-Cal program, could have major impacts on Elizabeth Gaysamburu.
I was born with a severe neuromuscular disability, and so I rely upon Medi-Cal and IHSS and the services that provides that allow me to live independently in my home. And so this is a very, very critical issue to people like me, and that's why I'm out here today.
She and others are urging Republican Congress members who voted earlier this month to advance a federal budget plan that includes cuts to Medicaid to reconsider.
I think there's more of us than they realize, and the cuts to services that help us ripple across the community and into families.
The budget plan, still going through the legislative process, directs the Committee on Energy and Commerce to make at least $880 billion in cuts from fiscal years 2025 through 2034. Some of the options for doing that include hundreds of billions of dollars in cuts to Medicaid. That means states would either have to cut services previously paid for with those federal dollars or come up with that extra money themselves. And California is already facing a budget deficit. Congressman McClintock's office sent ABC10 a statement saying, in part, Medicaid spending has nearly doubled in 10 years and now costs more than the entire defense budget, taking $6,900 a year from an average American household to support. The budget resolution anticipates long overdue common sense reforms such as restoring the work requirement for able-bodied adults, prosecuting fraud, and ending services to non-citizens. Stickers worn by protesters said, "I am not waste, fraud, or abuse."
I understand that money is tight, but that should never eclipse the real things that matter, which is the human factor, human dignity.
For people with disabilities to live with dignity and humane care in the community. And what we're seeing now with Medicaid cuts is we going backwards.
Elsewhere in our area, people also gathered to protest outside Republican Congressman Kevin Kiley's Rockland office. Here in Modesto, Becca Habegger, ABC 10.
And as Becca just mentioned, this is video of those protests at Congressman Kiley's office today. Dozens of people came out to share their concerns about potential Medicaid cuts. The congressman responded to the protest on X today, blaming Medi-Cal funding issues on Governor Gavin Newsom. He points out the state has had to use more than $6 billion extra dollars from the general fund this year to keep the program afloat through June. Kiley blames recent changes, expanding eligibility to undocumented Californians. Newsom's office says only state dollars, not federal dollars, fund Medi-Cal for undocumented immigrants in California. All right, let's jump into your price points right now. New details tonight amid President Trump's looming trade war. The president says the U.S. is in active talks with China, and it comes as the country still faces a tariff of 145%.
Everything's active. Everybody wants to be a part of what we're doing. They know that they can't get away with it any longer, but they're still going to do fine.
China continues to criticize Trump's tariffs. They accuse the U.S. of abusing tariffs, saying it's a violation of World Trade Organization rules. They have also started turning away American businesses. And new tonight, a dozen states have sued the Trump administration in the U.S. Court of International Trade to stop its tariff policy. The states argue the policy is unlawful and has brought chaos to the American economy. The suit asks the court to declare the tariffs to be illegal and to block government agencies and its officers from enforcing them. This case is separate than the one California filed just last week. Governor Gavin Newsom wants to reorganize a large state agency called the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency to create two new agencies. And he says it's because it's gotten too big and unfocused over time. If the plan is adopted, the agency would be split into California Housing and Homelessness Agency, which would handle housing, homelessness, and civil rights issues. And the Business and Consumer Services Agency would focus on consumer protection and regulating businesses and industries. Newsom says this would cut red tape, speed up housing, create clear points of contact, and make it easier to apply for funding. The Little Hoover Commission is reviewing the proposal and will issue a report to the governor and legislature in coming months. It could take effect later this summer if approved. California's Sunbucks, or Summer EBT food program, is making a return this year. And the program, it's all about helping families buy food when schools are closed. The program is available to those 22 and younger, depending on their eligibility. And children who qualify or already receive free or lower cost school meals get CalFresh, CalWorks, or Medi-Cal are automatically enrolled. More than 4 million children are expected to receive the benefits this year. And you can find all that information on our website and how you can apply as well on abc10.com. Tonight, authorities in Italy are preparing for hundreds of thousands of people to attend the Pope's funeral on Saturday. The Pope is now lying in state at St. Peter's Basilica for 3 days, giving the faithful a chance to pay their respects. Inez de la Duquerta is in the Vatican City tonight as people are waiting to get inside.
Thousands of the Catholic faithful now lining up outside St. Peter's Basilica to pay their respects to Pope Francis. The pontiff will lie in state for 3 days. The public viewing was set to end at 7 p.m. local time on Friday. The Vatican saying in a statement it may extend that time frame until midnight due to a, quote, high flow of visitors. This morning, the Pope's simple wooden coffin was escorted by the Swiss Guard as he made his final journey to St. Peter's Basilica. Cardinals joining the procession as it traveled a few hundred yards across St. Peter's Square from the Pope's residence at Casa Santa Marta. Once inside, Irish-American Cardinal Kevin Farrell sprinkled holy water over the Pope's body, a reminder of baptism. The Vatican saying burial will take place right after the funeral mass Saturday. Cardinals in Rome and again this evening to plan the conclave and make other decisions about the Catholic Church. Large numbers of Catholics were already in Rome to celebrate the Easter holiday. They and others now lining up to pay their respects.
For this moment, I arrived on Monday for 1 week, and now I had the chance to go there and see the Pope. He was dead, but I saw him and I could say goodbye.
And with some 200,000 people expected to attend the Pope's funeral on Saturday, officials in Italy are heightening security using drones, monitoring cameras, and patrolling areas near the Vatican. Inez de la Duquerta, ABC News at the Vatican.
And ABC News will have live coverage of the Pope's funeral. Watch Celebrating Francis, the People's Pope, Friday night at midnight, right here on ABC 10 or the ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. Next, on To the Point, California's HighSpeed Rail. Is the long-delayed project finally picking up steam? Tonight, what officials are saying about its progress.
And we've got a big pattern change on the way, not just cooler temperatures. I'm tracking rain and snow returning to Northern California. Forecast after the break.
Welcome back. It was a beautiful and sunny day as we take a live look over downtown Sacramento. We've had a nice stretch of weather, but this week some changes are on the way. So let's bring in meteorologist Brendan Minchef, who's tracking some weather impact.
Yeah, that's right. For the Sierra, that weather impact alert is, and it kicks in at the end of this work week. Right now, though, the weather is nice. We made it to 73 in Sacramento today, 75 Stockton, 74 Modesto. That is below average by a couple degrees. And we've got a breeze going once again. That Delta breeze, sustained winds about 15 miles per hour across parts of the valley. So we are pretty quickly cooling down out there. For the A's game tonight, first pitch coming up at the top of the hour, going to be in those low 60s, 59 degrees by 8 o'clock, in the mid 50s towards the end of the game. So definitely bring a jacket if you're headed to the A's. Again, we are already in the 60s right now because of that breeze in large part. 65 Sacramento, 68 in Stockton, 71 Modesto, 64 Jackson, 64 in Auburn right now, and 50s in the high country. To start Thursday morning, we're going to have some clouds building overnight. We're going to be in those upper 40s, very near average for the time of year. Tomorrow, though, look at these high temperatures. Definitely a changing pattern here. Upper 60s, low 70s across parts of the Sacramento and San Joaquin valleys. 76 up in Colusa, one of the warmer spots on the map for tomorrow. 60s in the foothills, near 60 up in the Sierra. We're dry for Thursday. We are going to have some clouds, though. When you see those clouds moving through on Thursday afternoon, Friday also looks cloudy for most of the day. And then we start to see a little break in the clouds through the afternoon, and that'll allow for some showers, maybe some isolated thunderstorms to pop up as well. You see late in the evening on Futurecast, we see a little snow in the high country, a little shower activity in the valley, but then by Saturday morning, we start to see that snow really picking up and more widespread showers across the valley. This looks like heavy rain. I'm not expecting it to be real heavy for Saturday morning, maybe a 1/10 of an inch for some areas, but definitely looking at some more widespread snow coverage up in the high country. And for that reason, we've got that weather impact alert Friday through Sunday, rain and snow. But that snow is going to be a thing that really causes some of those travel disruptions. Be ready for this late season winter storm. Make sure you got the jackets. And if you're going to the high country, make sure you're bringing those chains just in case. You see, for the regional forecast here, really from Friday afternoon through Sunday, we're looking at that weather impact alert. Temperatures 30s to near 40 on Saturday in the high country. Here in the valley, much colder as well. Mid 60s for Saturday, but then we're near 90 by the end of next week. Up and down we go, Alex.
Next on To The Point, California's controversial high-speed rail project.
Construction is ongoing for the high-speed rail project. An update on the progress and how officials are responding to the criticism.
Well, California has long planned to build a high-speed rail from the Bay Area to Los Angeles, with the goal of transporting people across the state in just under 3 hours. Voters approved funding for the project back in 2008. But tonight, as the project continues to face challenges with costs and timelines, lawmakers are questioning its future. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen takes us to the Central Valley, where high-speed rail construction is currently underway.
We're at the Hanford Viaduct, which is our longest structure actually for the Central Valley. 6,300-foot structure, and it connects into our future high-speed rail Kings Tulare Regional Station.
It's a vision decades in the making. California's controversial high-speed rail project will eventually connect Northern and Southern California and has first brought a new era to the Central Valley. It's where the High-Speed Rail Authority is currently constructing track for the bullet train.
So we started this structure in 2020. This is our longest structure for the Central Valley.
This is the Hanford Viaduct, about an hour south of Fresno. High-speed rail officials have a goal of completing this portion and all of construction in the Central Valley by 2026, because eventually this will be an important part of their test track.
We have to test and do dynamic testing for at least 2 or 3 years before we can start any operations. That's to test for our rolling stock, our track and systems, all of the different maintenance of way facilities that we'll have throughout the valley. All of those things, communications, dispatch, all of the things that you need for an operational train system.
But all of this progress comes with a hefty price tag and plenty of criticism. High-speed rail officials say the entire project from San Francisco to Los Angeles was supposed to be done by 2020 and cost $45 billion. But the estimated completion date to finish just the Central Valley portion is in the early 2030s and is estimated to be between $30 and $33 billion to connect Bakersfield and Merced. Tony Tinoco, High-Speed Rail's Central Valley Deputy Regional Director, tells ABC 10, while there have been difficulties, there is progress.
Out of The number of structures that we've started, more than 50 of those have been completed. We've actually created more than 15,000 construction jobs.
In 2023, Governor Gavin Newsom appointed an Inspector General for the HighSpeed Rail Authority. His most recent audits finds the HighSpeed Rail has reported the project is unlikely to finish on time and is facing a budget shortfall.
What is your response, to the criticism that the Inspector General has found on the HighSpeed Rail project?
We always look forward to being, partners with the Inspector General. Any other federal and state audits that we've completed, we welcome the opportunity to work with those entities to make sure that we're being transparent.
The project has faced many delays, including lawsuits, while in the process of getting environmentally cleared. In a 2024 business plan report, HighSpeed Rail says it has faced 4 lawsuits relating to the California Environmental Quality Act, which has contributed to impacting the cost of the project.
It's been no secret that we don't have all of the funding to build this. We've been trying to build as much as possible and as fast as possible with the limited funding that we do have in hand.
California Republican Congressman Kevin Kiley has been an open critic of the project. He's proposed a bill calling for the federal government to stop funding the project.
California's federal transportation dollars should go where it's really needed, towards improving the quality of our roads, alleviating traffic, making our roads safer, or even for regional rail lines that people actually are riding on and could use a lot of help.
What is the plan if federal funding is cut from the HighSpeed Rail?
Majority of the funding that we have is from the state. Progress is real. There's no doubt that the structures are being built, construction is ongoing, and impacts are being made.
Here's what funding for the HighSpeed Rail project looks like. In a 2025 project update, since 2009, more than $6.8 billion in federal funding has been committed to this project. That makes up 23% of the funds, while the state has committed to $22.5 billion, or 77% of the funds. The HighSpeed Rail Authority also gets 25% of its funding from the state's cap and trade program, designed to limit emissions by creating a market for tradable emissions credits. That funding varies from year to year and could be on the chopping block in years to come. Democratic Senator Dave Cortese has consistently supported the project and has recently authored SB 545. He says $7 billion needs to be acquired by next summer in order for this project to continue. He's waiting for more information from HighSpeed Rail officials before a decision is made on how to go about securing those funds.
I think it'll prove that the investment's worth it, but it'll also show us that we can close the gap on funding. The state already has many tools that it provides local governments and developers to use, to pay for infrastructure.
Senator Cortese urges Californians to start seeing the project as a stimulus package that will eventually create an economic boost. But the big question remains.
Original plan is from San Francisco to the LA area. When do you think we might see that?
It's all dependent on funding. So it's hard to give a timeline when you don't have all of those dollars in hand.
In Kings County, Jeannie Nguyen, ABC 10.
All right, so Jeannie, I do have a question for you because we know that the HighSpeed Rail Authority CEO, they spoke at Fresno City College and really had some updates about some of the issues with the project, right?
Yeah, Alex, the authority CEO, Ian Chowdhury, says 119 miles of the rail are under construction, with 50% of that now complete. He did acknowledge the ongoing challenges and setbacks the project has had, especially now that the federal government is threatening to cut off funding. He said the authority is committed to finding additional funds.
77% of the money that is spent on this project came from California taxpayers. We do want to continue to look for opportunities to work with the federal government and continue to secure more funding.
As we mentioned in our reporting, $7 billion needs to be made available by next summer for this project to continue. Republican Senator Tony Strickland, who is also the vice chair of the Senate Transportation Committee, tells me he believes if we do come up with that money, it'll be a waste to spend it on this project.
We'll just keep digging that hole on the high-speed rail and spend $7 billion here, knowing full well, I want to go on a limb and say this project, as proposed, will never be built.
And Senator Dave Cortese expects a funding update in next month's Senate Transportation Committee meeting.
All right, Jeannie, thank you so much. And you already know this is something we will continue to follow, and we'll be right back after this short break. That is our show tonight. Thank you so much for watching and for inviting us into your home. If you have something that you think we should be looking into, please reach out to me and the team. You can always email us at tothepoint@abc10.com. And I also want to mention the NFL draft is airing tomorrow and Friday, so we'll see you back here next week. Have a great night.